How to move past infidelity. Hey guys, my name is Danny and I'm your life and relationship coach. And the subject for today is infidelity, right? Emotionally, how do you move on? How do you process what happened? And this is a tough topic. This is something that a lot of people have experienced. This is something that is very real and very raw for people. So first and foremost, I empathize with you. I understand that the situation is not difficult. And when I say moving on past infidelity, that goes for both parties, right? The person who betrayed and the person who was cheated on. It's difficult for both parties a lot of times. Now, that's not to say that the person who was cheated on is not feeling a brunt of the emotions, right? Oftentimes, when I create these videos and I talk about infidelity and I talk about cheating, it's a very sensitive subject, right? So it can be very easy for people to get upset if I am empathizing with the individual who did the cheating and vice versa. But the reality of the situation is that cheating is usually a symptom. It's not the actual disease of the relationship, right? So there are things that were going on in the relationship that may have potentially led to the infidelity and may have led to that breaking of trust. And what I have found over time is often there is accountability on both parts, right? That still does not take away from the pain that the individual is feeling who was cheated on, right? So if you were betrayed, I empathize. That is difficult. It's incredibly hard to manage those feelings because this individual that you trusted and that you felt you were going to be with for the rest of your life ends up betraying you in that way, and it's hard to process. So, how do you start to move past infidelity, right? If you are watching this video, my assumption is you are trying to figure out how to do that. Right. So you're not watching this video to try to figure out a way of punishing your partner or of getting back at them. Because if you are, this is not the video for you. I'm not here to teach you that. I'm not here to recommend that you retaliate or any of those types of things, right? We're in the business of rebuilding relationships. We are in the business of mending hearts and really kind of working towards building something better, something new. And so, with that being said, the first thing in order to really start to kind of get over infidelity is you have to allow yourself to grieve, right? You have to allow yourself to emotionally process what has happened. Because oftentimes, most people will just block it off, compartmentalize, they'll sweep it under the rug, they'll try to move on. And because they just can't deal with it in that moment, right? I'm not dealing with this. I am not dealing with this. I have way too much shit going on in my life. I can't deal with this. But you have to. You have to confront what has happened. Because if you don't, then what you were doing is you were actually detaching from your reality. Because the reality is what is sitting directly in front of you. And if we try to ignore that, it's going to cause a storm of emotions down the road, right? You're going to harbor resentments. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry with your partner. And what ends up happening is out over a period of months and years, you don't even remember specifically the reasons for why you're upset. You get triggered and then you're constantly arguing with your partner. So allow yourself to grieve, right? The relationship itself is over. It's dead. What you once knew, the image that you had in your mind of that relationship, it's gone. And you have to grieve that. By going through that process, you're able to kind of take a step back and start to evaluate your situation, right? If you immediately jump into trying to figure things out and evaluating, doing all of that stuff and pushing the emotions aside, you're putting the cart before the horse. You have to put the horse before the cart. And that is the emotional processing piece of it. And then it's really about taking a step back and being self-reflective, right? The process of self-reflection, and this is part number 2, is really coming to terms with what has happened and diving in deep within yourself and saying, well, how did we get here? Why did we get here? Why did my partner feel the need to cheat? Or why did I feel the need to cheat? Why did I feel the need to stray or to go outside of my marriage, my relationship, to have something fulfilled, a need fulfilled that maybe I wasn't potentially getting in this relationship? And the same for the individual who was cheated on, who was betrayed. What was going on in the relationship? Was there a breakdown in communication? Or did you guys disconnect emotionally? You hadn't even recognized it or realized it. On a subconscious level, were there frustrations and anger and issues that you had with your partner that you hadn't resolved? Was there a lack of intimacy? Have you not had sex in a really long time? Has whatever the case may be, It's about doing the dirty work, about digging in deep and getting to the root of the issue so that you can start to resolve. Because as I said before, a relationship is a two-way street and there's accountability on both parts. And when I say that, again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that you pushed your partner to go and cheat. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is a part here that you are responsible for in the dynamic of the relationship. And then your partner made the decision on their own to go and do what they did, even though it is not the right decision to make. It is not the right thing, because we do not condone cheating in any way. But at the end of the day, it happens. It's a relationship. It happens so frequently. And I deal with these all the time in my one-on-one coaching session. And it's difficult, again, to manage and navigate. But at the end of the day, it's really about understanding that there's compassion, there's empathy, and there's patience that has to be involved here in order for you to be able to get past infidelity. The third thing is, once you have grieved, right? And I mean, it's not that you're going to grieve and then you're going to move on to the next step. And then you're going to self-reflect and then you're going to move on to the next step, right? A lot of this thing is actually going to happen in sync with each other. So once you feel like you have gotten to an emotionally strong enough place, right, where you can be a little bit more emotionally neutral, once you've reflected on the relationship and ask yourself the tough questions, it's time to sit down and have a conversation with your partner. Ask all the questions that you need to ask if you were the person that was betrayed. Have clarifying conversations. Let them know what your needs and your expectations are. Let them know that you're going to be setting very hard boundaries and that there are certain expectations that you have at this point in order for the relationship to work. And if you are the individual who cheated on your partner, you have to be prepared to answer any question that they may have for you. As difficult as that may be, as gross as it may feel, as much as you may not want to relive that moment, it is absolutely necessary. And here's a pro tip. It's very possible that your partner, if you were the one who betrayed them, they may not want to talk about it right away. So write down everything that happened. I know that's weird. I know that probably feels gross, but the reason for why is because at some point down the road, your partner may ask you questions on what happened. You may not remember because it's been months or years that have passed. And then you say, you know what? I honestly don't recall. Your partner's going to feel like you're withholding the truth and you're not being authentic and honest, and you're going right back into the merry-go-round. So if the conversation does not happen immediately, there has to be a way in which you remember what happened so that you can reiterate and communicate with your partner and fulfill those kind of needs that they have, right, in regards to knowing what happened. The point of communication is to open up the lines of trust again, and vulnerability and transparency. So it's going to require consistent communication, right? And again, I talk about communication all the time. If you are struggling with communication and you really need to know how to structure it, I have created an incredible product that you can utilize. And I promise you, it will change the dynamic of your relationship. It'll change the way in which you speak to each other, because I have broken down how to fundamentally communicate and how to resolve conflict, which is exactly what you are going to need in this circumstance. So if anything, my recommendation is to start with that communication training in order for you to really understand how to navigate this. And then we have multiple other products that you can purchase. There's an infidelity product that you can purchase that walks you through how to start coping and managing with this circumstance. But again, I highly recommend the communication one, because that's actually going to be a big part of moving past all of this. The fourth thing is be patient. I know that sounds so easy. I know that sounds like I'm just kind of throwing out on the table and saying, be patient. But it's required. It's necessary. And it's not just about being patient with your partner. It's about being patient with yourself. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. That's natural. It's part of the process, especially if, you're in a situation that involves infidelity. And it's going to take time to rebuild trust, right? Trust is something that is built over time. It takes a while. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was destroyed in one. So understanding that your partner's also going to have difficulties. Your partner's also going to feel bad about certain things, and they're going to have good days and bad days. The question becomes, how much do you want to rebuild this relationship, right? And there's a possibility to have an incredible relationship after something like this. I can't tell you how many times, how many clients I have worked with where they went from being in a very kind of boring, mundane relationship, something like infidelity happens, it snaps both of them awake, and they have an incredible relationship afterwards, but it takes work. It takes time. So be patient. The fifth part of this is having empathy and forgiving yourself and forgiving your partner, right? Empathy is all about putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to understand where they are coming from emotionally and mentally. And at the end of the day, I understand you want your partner to do that for you too, because they are the ones that cheated on you. But you have to be able to view both sides of the coin, and then you have to forgive yourself for any mistakes that you think that you may have made, because oftentimes we end up blaming ourselves when our partner cheats and we say, we're not good enough, we did this wrong, we did that wrong. It's not about that. Asking yourself the tough questions is not about blaming yourself. It's about really kind of evaluating and analyzing the situation and saying, okay, this is where we could have done better. But you have to be able to step back and say, you know what? I made mistakes. I'm a human being. I'm going to move past them. I forgive myself for that. And I forgive my partner for whatever happened. It doesn't mean you have to forgive them right away, but eventually you are going to have to forgive them, because if you don't, you will never move past the infidelity. If you guys like this video, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. I love having open dialogue with people, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, please drop them down in the box below. I try to read as many, I try to answer as many as possible. Maybe you just want to know a little bit more, right? You want to dig a little bit deeper. You can visit us at www.happilycommitted.com, where we have a multitude of different articles and blogs and videos related to this subject and many other subjects as well. As I mentioned before, the communication training is exactly what I would recommend in this moment for you guys to really start to rebuild the relationship and understand how to productively talk to each other. And we also have other products, right? The infidelity product. I think that would also be a great tool for you to utilize. But even with that, if you still feel like you need more support, you need more help, you can book a one-on-one coaching session with myself or any of the other amazing coaches that we have on the team. You can do that via the website as well. Again, my name is Danny. I'm your life and a relationship coach. I hope you're staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you soon.